While promoting her new book, Lauren Boebert claimed she has PTSD from having to wear a mask in Congress. What an absolute snowflake thing to say. I mean, really, from the side that constantly calls liberals snowflakes, she's claiming she has PTSD from wearing a piece of fabric on her face. This is the same woman that laughed at politicians claiming they have PTSD from the January 6th insurrection in which their lives were actually in danger. She laughed at those people, saying that they were wusses, but is such a snowflake as to claim a mask gave her PTSD? What a baby. Special thank you to my YouTube members and patrons for supporting the channel and supporting my content. How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another subreddit video. Today we are going to be taking another look at r/vaxxhappened. We're in for a treat today. I think it's been a little while since I've done like a proper deep dive into statistics, but a few of the posts that came up today just needed some research into the background of, so I can debunk them even better than I would have done originally. So that's what we've got in store today, along with the general vaxxhappened posts. Let's take a look, shall we? Need an abortion? Try the COVID vaccine. So first things first, the whole thing is just really, I don't know, insulting, uncompassionate. There's a word and it's on the tip of my tongue and it won't come to mind, but inconsiderate? No, that's not enough. Also, you would assume though that if the COVID vaccine was going to cause miscarriages or infertility or etc., then perhaps we would see a reflection of that in the statistics, considering it has been 2 years since the vaccine started rolling out. However, according to the UN, in the United States, so far since 2019, every single year has seen a 0.09% increase in birth rates. So that's not a decrease. It's basically stayed the same. I mean, a 0.9% is negligible, right? But we haven't seen a decrease because the COVID vaccine, funny enough, isn't resulting in infertility or miscarriages or anything like that. So this person who spent all this money on making a giant banner like this to fly from a bridge, funnily enough, they don't know what they're talking about. Who could have guessed? My kids are sleeping in till whenever they want, eating organic whole foods for every meal, and reading about why we aren't monkeys stuck to a waterlogged spear spinning in 6 different directions at once. Your kids are eating Kraft mac and cheese and goldfish crackers and wearing face diapers while raising their hand to speak and learning about 168 different genders, fake-ass dinosaurs, and how germs are contagious. We aren't the same. P.S. If this triggers you, do better. Your kids deserve it. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. No school is teaching about 168 genders. Dinosaurs are real and proven to be real. You can go and see them yourself. Well, the remains of them. Germs are contagious. That isn't even up for debate at this point. That is proven science for hundreds of years. Her children are going to be so incredibly ill-prepared for the real world. They are sleeping until whenever they want. They're reading incorrect information on a variety of subjects. They aren't getting a proper education. They're gonna grow up and they're gonna be so ill-prepared for the world. They're not going to know how to function in society. They're not going to be prepared for getting a job. They're not going to be able to survive. That's the end of. This woman is so neglectful in her duties. She thinks she is doing a good job. She is the better parent. But her children are going to be so ill-prepared for the rest of their lives. They are going to hold this against her permanently. Breaking. The MAGA idiot who threatened Anthony Fauci has been sentenced to over 3 years in federal prison. Good luck being unvaccinated in prison. Yeah, that's not gonna happen, is it? Consequences. Your actions have consequences. You threaten someone, especially in a government official, consequences. And luckily recently we're seeing a lot of consequences for actions, because sure, freedom of speech, you are free to say whatever you want to say. That doesn't mean freedom of consequence. If you threaten someone, are deemed an actual threat to someone's safety, you're gonna be treated as such. Trudeau panics as fully vaccinated account for 9 in every 10 COVID-19 deaths in Canada after the past month, 4 in every 5 of which were triple jabbed. So I've looked into into this, I did research, because as these people love saying, do your own research. So I did, and funnily enough, they probably didn't actually want me to do my own research. They wanted me to just hold their word as doctrine. But I did do my research, and unsurprisingly, their stats are wrong. They're just wrong. And we're gonna talk into why their stats are wrong, and also if their stats weren't wrong, why that doesn't actually mean anything. So let's go into that. So first of all, we have the actual number of confirmed COVID-19 deaths in Canada as a whole. For permanently. Currently, they have 10,000 unvaccinated deaths, 3,500 primary sets completed, 3,700 primary sets completed in one additional dose, and 265 primary sets completed in 2 additional doses. Okay, so that's 10,300 total unvaccinated, and roughly 7,000-ish people who have at least had the base sets finished. And that might be like, wow, that's, you know, slightly less than half of all the deaths in Canada are unvaccinated. That feels like a lot, right? But then when you consider the fact that over 80% of the population in Canada now are vaccinated, right? So when you take into statistics like that into account, if 80% of people are vaccinated and yet less than half of all of the deaths are vaccinated people, that's a really, really disproportionate amount of deaths coming from unvaccinated people, is it not? I mean, they don't take this into account at all. If 100% of Canada's population was vaccinated, then 100% of Canada's COVID deaths would be from vaccinated people. That's just how that works. And yet, these news articles would still be going, 100% of COVID deaths in Canada are from vaccines, because there are no unvaccinated people. So of course they would. But the fact of it is, 80% of people in Canada are vaccinated, and yet over 60% of the deaths are from unvaccinated people, which is really disproportionate. That's coming from less than 20% of people make up over half of the deaths. I really think that says everything you need to know about these deaths. That's just, I did my own research, and that's the result I found. It's that vaccines do in fact work really well, and we have actual definitive proof of that.
Hashtag stop the shots, pull them off the market. Don't forget to take a jab pic, because you'll want to look at it after she's dead and remember that it was you who took her in and shot her up.
Mary Tally Bodum MD, by the way, has no right calling herself a doctor, and in fact she's so disgraced in the medical field. This is the tweet from the hospital that used to actually hire her that said, Dr. Bowden, who has never admitted a patient at Houston Methodist Hospital, is spreading dangerous misinformation which is not based in science. They laid her off. They got rid of her because she's making claims like this and she's not even admitted a patient in the hospital. Interesting that, isn't it? And actually she tried to sue them, along with a lot of other people at the hospital who were anti-vax, tried to sue them and were laughed out of court. Nothing has come from it. And she's again trying to sue them for, I think, defamation, for, I guess, them saying this, but nothing's come from that yet either. So it's quite funny, really, that the people who constantly talk about how vaccines are dangerous are the unemployed ones. Mum died of COVID 14/11/20. Just had the call from the ward to say that dad is palliative care only. Here they are in happier days.
Beautiful photo. But really, COVID, please make sure you find out the real cause.
I think they know the real cause. It's COVID. It's not a hard thing to determine. In my family, we all got COVID. I was a bit sick, but I was double vaccinated and got over it in a few days. My dad went to hospital, and honestly, if he wasn't vaccinated, he probably would have died. My granddad, who was 90 years old, did die. We know it was COVID. It's a real thing, and millions have died from it. There is no find out the real cause. It's COVID. It's a pandemic. It's killed millions of people. What more do you want?
God bless purebloods. Natural immunity prevails. Our blood will be sought for to develop cures for the vax atrocities, transfusions, and other. Sadly, like Thomas in The Maze Runner, we will be hunted down for our pure blood. Wicked is not good.
Why do they always have obsessions with these like action books? Before it was the Hunger Games, all of the purebloods were doing the Hunger Games salute, and now they're bringing up Maze Runner. Have you even read Maze Runner? The whole plot is that they're hunting hunting down Thomas so that they can turn him into a vaccine. But sure, keep using fictional books as an example of why your pure blood is better than people that are vaccinated. Meanwhile, the majority of COVID deaths are made up of unvaccinated people. Everyone, and yes, everyone should learn first aid, including CPR. I agree with this, just putting that out there before we move on. I agree with this. I think that first aid and CPR should be taught in schools. I think it's something that's really important and could save a lot of lives, instead of having a whole RE lesson about happy slapping instead of learning how to save lives. That's bizarre to me. Anyway, someone replied, "Indeed, but if the person is vaxxed, it's the right of the person not to administer CPR, correct?" No, what? So because someone is vaccinated, you would rather not save a life if someone is choking or bleeding out? What's wrong with you? What? But also, I just gotta ask the question, how exactly is it that you want to go about figuring out that they are or aren't vaccinated before you save their life? Do you want them to be carrying vaccination passports? Is that your solution? Vaccinated people should carry around a tag saying if they are or aren't vaccinated? Who was opposed to that a little bit ago? Wasn't that a thing that people were against? Is vaccination status being something that people should have publicly? So how exactly do you want to go around and tell if the person that you're administering CPR to is or isn't vaccinated? Just how are you gonna do that? Just quick question. What's your solution there? They don't think these things through, do they? They don't think a single thing through past one sentence. One sentence, send it. Just a complete lack of object permanence.
How do I save my own blood just in case of an emergency? What if I need blood because of an accident? What if I'm unconscious and they inject me with vax blood?
Well, lucky for you, any toxins, there aren't toxins in vaccines, they aren't toxic, but any chemicals that are in vaccines are filtered out in less than a month. So any blood in a hospital that is going to be injected into you from a person that was vaccinated in the past, it's not going to contain vaccines. It's not going to matter. So you're lucky there. It really doesn't matter. You can go on living in a bubble of unvaccinated, reviving diseases and other friggin' polio's coming back. Did you guys? Sorry, I'm going on a tangent now. The unvaxxed people, anti-vaxxers, have managed to revive polio. We're going back in time so fast. How? Anti-vaxxers are actually debilitating to society right now. Kids are at risk of measles, polio, and other diseases that could have been eradicated because anti-vaxxers are doing everything in their power to keep these viruses alive.
Baby gets her first adjustment today, born at home and pure. This family and this child will live a much better life following a chiropractic lifestyle. Adio.
Yeah, so this dude is putting a child at risk by not only pushing anti-vaxxer propaganda on it, but bending its tiny little child spine made entirely out of, the word just left my head. You know, it's like bones but squishy and not actually a bone. Your nose is cartilage. How can I not remember the word cartilage? Babies' bones are basically entirely in cartilage. They haven't developed bones yet. It's dangerous to twist babies around. Chiropractic stuff on babies is dangerous. Pushing that over vaccines should be criminal. That's not, you're endangering a child's life so that you can get money. You know how all of these anti-vaxxers are like, oh, big pharma pushing vaccines for money. This man is actually endangering child's lives so that people can go and pay him to do chiropractic practices on children. He's actually endangering children's lives for money, and they'll go out and go, oh, but the big pharma is covering things up for money. That's exactly what these home remedies do. When they were poisoning children with nightshade in teething medicine, and they just brushed that aside and covered it up. They actually harm children for monetary gain while going, the big pharma. It's disgusting. It's actually disgusting. And the final post. So we've tried explaining vaccines using science, and that scared people. But what if, instead, we told them that vaccines actually contain magic rocks or healing energy? We left this rabies vaccine in the light of a full moon to cleanse it, so it's safe. Everyone knows the link between rabies and full moons. Vaccination is an ancient practice going back at least hundreds of years that draws on your body's natural healing abilities to let you fight disease naturally. The interesting thing is that the second one's actually true. If lying is how we can get through to anti-vaxxers, then I think it's a necessary evil However, it's literally drawing on your body's natural ability to fight viruses. That's what it does. It gives your body information. You're literally teaching it to fight a weakened version of something so that it knows how to fight the stronger version of something. I've seen anti-vaxxers say, oh, instead of vaccines, what if we just subject people to a weak version of the virus? And that's literally what it is. And it shows that they know so little about vaccines and are so unwilling to learn about them that they just invent vaccines while trying to do something other than vaccines. And it's so frustrating. And that's where I'm going to end the video, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed. If you want to support me in making more content like this, then I have a Patreon in the description down below, or equally you can click the join button on the channel to support me. It helps a lot more than you might realize, but by no means should you feel like you have to. I'm going to keep making content regardless. Oh boy, I am tired now. Special thank you to Nix, Holly Miller, Carrie Ann Maury, Chase Howard, Karen Duca, Top Shelf, Elle, Rennie, Dev, Thomas Penny, Emily Potter, Greyhound, Maxine Lankow, Gravity Gaia, Kelly Bock, Carolyn, The Angry Potato, Sven Arctic Fox, Outcast Jupiter, Abel Eris Winchester, Ghost Orchid, Charlie the Mad 256, Kate Cat, Two Links in a Valley, Ica Limchok, An Agent Galaxy, Ronnie, Tam, Bug, Toxie Rain, Salted Denim, Poet Blanderson, Auntie Kaylee, EB Agent J, and Santa Kiara for supporting the channel and supporting my content. Thank you so much, guys. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Peace out.